How illegally smuggled gold is fueling the U.S. gold boom? Boy, this is gonna make me feel bad about buying gold.
So it's around 6 p.m. in the evening, and we're heading up a pretty massive hill to try and get a first-hand look at one of these mines to see their environmental impact.
In Africa, tens of billions of dollars in gold is illegally smuggled out of the continent each year.
What we have found is that more than 435 tons of gold was smuggled out of Africa in 2022. And at the current price of gold today, this corresponds to a value of more than 36 billion US dollar.
Ghana, one of Africa's top gold producers, has seen the impact of that illegal mining.
Among the biggest complaints from communities here in Ghana about illegal mining is that water that was once clear is now polluted.
While the vast majority of the world's gold comes from large mining companies like Newmont, Barrick Gold, and Agnico Eagle, gold is also a source of income for millions of small artisanal miners, a source of revenue for many African governments, and the cause of human rights violations and environmental degradation. And gold prices are surging. In January, spot gold rose more than $2,600 an ounce. U.S. gold futures have seen similar levels. One reason for that growth is that in difficult economic and geopolitical times, investors bet on gold for its ability to store value.
I heard from Destiny nobody does this. I thought I saw a pretty convincing clip that investors never ever bet on gold for any reason. And if they do, it's only 1% of their portfolio as a joke. Gold is just Bitcoin with human rights violations. Don't you worry, there's plenty of human rights violations with Bitcoin too. Don't you worry, Bitcoin's not left out, bro.
We've seen this perfect storm of just geopolitical events with the war in Ukraine and what's going on in the Middle East.
All the fundamentals that have caused gold to have a fabulous year this year are still intact.
The sky's the limit, to be honest, in gold prices.
Retailers like Costco are getting in on the action too.
I don't like this. I'm a person who is naturally skeptical when people get excited. I'm great at parties.
Selling as much as $200 million a month in gold bars. The Warehouse Club started selling bullion in late 2023. And prices could go even higher, reaching up to $3,000 an ounce by the end of 2025, according to Goldman Sachs. We traveled to Ghana to find out what impact illegal mining is having in Africa.
Of course, Goldman Sachs is pro-gold. You think we wouldn't see through your ruse? It's right there in your fucking name. They're putting gold in man sacks?
While legal mining is subject to environmental regulations, that's not the case for illegal mining, locally known in Ghana as galamsey. Ghana's gold exports were expected to reach $10 billion in 2024. Small-scale miners make up about 40% of Ghana's total gold output. About 70 to 80% of small mines are unlicensed.
20% of gold produced around the world is from those small-scale sources, whereas the small-scale mining is often very informal. There is a lot of illegal activity.
Small-scale miners dig shallow holes across acres of land, near bodies of water, without refilling holes after the gold is extracted.
I think based on this, the solution is to jail people committing illegal mining. I think we should find these people in Africa who are very poor, who are trying to make money through illegal mining, and put them in jail because it's illegal. Or find them. Yeah, find them. Like, I think this would solve the problem. Confiscate their gold. You know, that happened in America. We made it illegal to own private stores of gold for a bit. It was all confiscated. People had to hide their gold. You just weren't allowed to have gold.
This was an executive order signed by FDR in 1933. The goal was to get more gold back in the Fed so that the US would be allowed to expand the money supply to combat the Great Depression. But once Nixon ended the gold standard in 1971, this law became obsolete and it was lifted a couple years later in 1974.
Mercury, often used to extract gold, can leak into the water. More than 60% of Ghana's freshwater sources are contaminated by chemicals and toxins from illegal gold mining.
This is the Butri River. 2 years ago, it was very clean and pristine. And this is the effect of galamsey on our water bodies. It's very devastating.
When you look at Google Earth and you look at a map of Ghana, you will see that a vast majority of the territory is no more green, but it's more brown. So in terms of pollution, not on the different river, but also for the farming, it has been a disastrous impact.
In October, hundreds marched in Ghana's capital, Accra, calling on authorities to end the practice of illegal mining. Yao Mwafo, a small-scale miner operating legally, says he's been in the business for a decade and employs around 24 people. He says his business and those like it are caught in the crosshairs of this fight.
I need the same water to do my business at the site. At the same time, I need it to drink it or bath with it. So why should I go and spoil it before using it?
Ghana temporarily banned small-scale mining in 2017.
What? I mean, do you want me to answer your question? For money. You could be doing it for money. You could be spoiling the water to increase your profit on gold, and then you get water elsewhere. And that's not a perfect argument. That's not like, I'm not saying he's doing it. He says he's one of the legal miners. I mean, he operates by the rules, but that doesn't cover your basis. Why would I possibly, there's why you'd make money.
If the government ultimately cracks down and says small-scale mines cannot operate anymore, what does that mean for someone like you?
Let me say this:
wouldn't it help him economically as less competition?
Brought out foreign income to the country.
It's become an integral part of the economy.
Yes.
Before being sold to buyers, gold is sent to a refinery, like the Sahara Royal Gold Refinery, where it is weighed, put in large tumblers with acids, and then smelted into bars.
Refining basically means you taking out impurities.
While the price of gold is reaching all-time highs on Africa's so-called Gold Coast, many refineries are laying idle.
And because it's a cash-driven industry, it's difficult to regulate. Participants are, in some cases, dependent on criminal organizations and may inadvertently contribute to terror financing, money laundering, sanctions evasion, or human rights and labor rights abuses.
Undeclared gold is very problematic for several reasons. One, of course, is because no tax can be collected on it. So this will result in significant revenue losses for African states. And undeclared gold is also gold on which no control were made, which means that there is a high risk that this gold has been produced in violation of human rights or the environment.
Okay, you're worried you can't tax the gold?
The top gold producers are China, Russia, Australia, Canada, the US, and Ghana.
It takes a significant amount of scale to produce the amount of gold that's produced annually. And most of the gold comes from major gold miners like Barrick and Newmont, Kinross Gold, Agnico Eagle, and various smaller miners. And gold is also a byproduct of other mines.
Africa produces between 1/4 and 1/3 of the world's gold, with more than half of the gold extracted on the continent in 2022 coming from artisanal and small-scale miners. China alone mined 378 metric tons of gold in 2023, or about 10% of the world's total. Since the early 2000s, more than 50,000 Chinese gold miners have migrated to Ghana to work in small-scale mining.
If we take the example of Ghana, a large part of the sector is controlled, for example, by Chinese citizens.
Artisanal miner? Listen, I only buy organic, non-GMO, farm-to-table gold. I don't want factory farm gold. I don't want gold where you can't tell that like a human being really like lost a limb mining for it in a poverty-stricken region of the world. Hand-raised.
The Chinese arrived with excavator and started to extract those gold in a very problematic manner.
It's just sad to hear. It's funny because an opposite story's been happening where, there was blood diamonds from Africa. It's part of the diamond trade. But it turns out the diamond trade is drying up. Like actual quote-unquote organic diamonds, the demand is slowing. All of the De Beers and the big diamond companies have a massive stockpile now because people are buying the lab-grown ones. Finally, the perception has changed where people are like, yeah, I'm fine with the lab-grown diamond, which is good. It's awesome. It's cheaper and better. But there was a period there where it was like, well, I don't want a lab-grown one. It's not as cool because they tried to market it to make it seem inferior. But everyone's kind of over it now. You can't tell the difference. The lab-grown ones look better. So it's kind of an existential crisis moment for these diamond companies because they have no real advantage in the lab-grown department. Did you get Aria lab-grown diamond? I got her a full floor-to-ceiling poster of Heath Ledger's The Joker and said, "Wife so serious," when I asked her to marry me. So it's a little bit different. I didn't use a diamond at all.
They extract gold illegally. Most of the time, it is smuggled directly to Dubai.
Dubai, sometimes referred to as the City of Gold, also plays a critical role and is home to more than 20 gold refineries.
That's so fucking cool. I'm not gonna say tacky. I'm not gonna say gaudy. I'm not gonna say ostentatious or stupid or fucking wasteful. Or I'm gonna say cool. A solid 24 karat gold Cybertruck, yes, please. Nothing says I've got a big hog and I'm confident in it. Like drive around in that. You know what I'm saying?
If you want to avoid having gold from the DRC linked to conflict, or I don't know, in Sudan or for Mali or for Zimbabwe, the majority of this illegal gold is exported to the UAE. And from the UAE, a large part of it is also exported to Switzerland. And then from Switzerland, we know that a huge part of gold is also exported to the US.
No part of this touches Canada where I bought my gold. We're safe, folks. We're safe, folks. That's a W. That's called clean gold.
But when it's imported in the US, the majority of the importer will just say, oh, it gold from Switzerland, refined in Switzerland. The origin of this gold would just be Switzerland. But this gold, which is sometimes presented as recycled gold, can be gold which was 2 weeks before in a mine controlled by a jihadist group, by a Wagner group, or by other criminals.
Gold exports from Ghana more than doubled between 2012 and 2022, from 243 metric tons to 609 metric tons. The UAE, Switzerland, and India were the top recipients of African gold during that same time period, accounting for 80% of the continent's exports. Historically, about 212,000 metric tons have been mined worldwide, including about 2/3 extracted since 1950. Taken together, that gold could be placed inside a cube measuring around 22 meters long on each side.
It's a random fact. They're just padding time now. They're just padding time. This is some fucking Minecraft shit.
Gold is a popular material in jewelry and an essential metal that performs critical functions in spacecraft, jet aircraft engines, computers, communications equipment, and other products. It is also held and sought after by central banks around the world.
What?
It's around 20 to 22% of all the gold that's ever been mined is being held in central bank vaults, or central banks own that gold. And so central banks continue to try to diversify away from fiat currencies, in particular the US dollar.
Gold is expected to extend its bull market run as central banks look to purchase more of the yellow metal in the future.
One of the reasons why we remain bullish on it going forward is that we see US debt to GDP is unsustainable, and just the insatiable need likely in the future for more quantitative easing. And this debasement of the US dollar is the biggest reason why central banks continue to demand gold at a high level.
Destiny's Red's gonna rip this guy apart. This fucking idiot. What does this guy doesn't know what he's fucking talking about?
Gold prices continuing to go up. Central banks are big buyers.
I think it's the ultimate insurance policy in an increasingly uncertain world, and is the best insurance policy against the reckless fiscal agenda of both Democrats and Republicans.
But how do investors and consumers know if their gold is properly sourced? The London Bullion Market Association, a UK-based trade association, has become the global standard for gold refineries around the world, maintaining a list of 65 gold refineries worldwide that have proven to source gold legally.
Of gold.
Our standard has become the de facto global standard for gold refineries and silver refineries.
Bro, you know this guy could talk your ear off about gold at the pub. You give this guy a pint, he'll talk to you about gold all night. He'll tell you how it's smelted, how it's mined. He'll tell you about how it's valued. 5,000 years of history.
But experts say, despite that seal of approval, consumers, companies, and the entire supply chain need to be hyper aware of where their gold is sourced.
I think we all have a responsibility of consumer, because when you buy an iPhone, when you buy a jewelry, I think you have to know where this gold comes from. And if it's not possible, you have to ask. And if the company where you are buying this is not in a position to give you the answer, then it's a red flag.
Anybody that's investing in gold or diamonds for that matter, you should understand that there are places in the world where these commodities are being produced in unethical ways.
As opposed to the fucking silicone in my fucking phone? As opposed to the fucking 400 materials in this PC as opposed, what? Of course. Yeah, this is why we have governments. Don't be intentionally dense, know what they're saying? No, Nikki FR, I don't know what they're saying. It's insane to constantly push it onto the consumer to ask where every material in their thing comes from, okay? The reason we have governments that build associations that check these things is so that they do it. It's not the consumer's fault every single time. Be for real, Nikki. Positive year, by the way? That's not even not that positive. I'm not gonna be fake positive. I'm not gonna be like, I know, children. I'm just being positive in general, as in a good getting mad at media for telling the story and telling it in order to hold those in power to task. They didn't hold those in power to task. They didn't name anyone in power who's held to task. The theme of the video was that consumers should be checking their gold and where it comes from. That's the opposite of the point of the video. The video didn't name a fucking organization that you could blame. They didn't name a fucking senator at fault. They didn't name a fucking director of an association who should be monitoring this who's not doing it. They just fucking named the problem and then said, well, you should probably check your gold. But that's just me, all right? That's just me, okay? Maybe I'm seeing these pieces a little differently.
Illegal gold mining hasn't slowed down since this video was posted. In fact, it's likely increased due to the spike in gold prices caused by global uncertainty. Ghana is implementing solutions to the issue, but it will take time to see lasting change.